Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. In a minute, I'll be joined by former Washington Redskin running back Clinton Portis, who now is coaching with Deshaun Jackson at Delaware State. That is a sentence I never thought I would utter, and I'm curious to hear what Clinton says about himself coaching and then also Deshaun Jackson coaching. And I still get kind of a kick out of it, as I think Clinton's was a super smart player, but those were not the two. If I had guessed like who's going to be coaching off this group, that was not the combo I would have anticipated. More so for me, even especially with Deshaun, as Santana Moss kind of backed me up on that. He played with both those guys. Anyways, but I still get a kick out of it. I think it's great. And I think there's a lot of value to what these guys add. And I think you'll hear that with Clinton with some of the roads we go down about what he teaches his players and the lessons from his own life that he imparts to them. And then I also ask him a couple questions, like some of the most underrated players that he played with. And one of them was maybe not underrated as a guy that obviously, he was very close to, but why he said Sean Taylor in that group as well. So, and it was more so from the personal growth, but you'll hear about that. So anyways, that's near the end. When we talk a lot about that, some favorite memories of his from playing here. And there you go. But a lot about what he's doing now, especially. So anyways, so stay tuned for that. I don't have a whole lot else to say before then. I'll be doing 2 more podcasts this week. And then starting next week, I'll be doing 2 a week leading into training camp. And then we'll go back to a regular schedule. And then that's when I'll ramp it up too. I'll be doing one after every training camp practice. We'll get back to that. So stay tuned for that. And I don't have the official start date of camp yet, but you'll hear it soon enough. So don't need it right now. Anyway, that's it, folks. Here's my conversation with former Washington Redskin running back Clinton Portis. Well, first of all, Clinton, it's always good to see you. And you look like you've just come from the golf course. Am I right?
Nah, you're
Oh,
wrong, man. I wish that was the case. I wish that was the case. This was just comfort wear today.
okay. Okay. I got the comfort coach too. All right, I want to start with you coaching, okay? And I had Santana Moss on a couple weeks ago, and I asked him about you coaching and also Deshaun. He was like, Clinton was basically saying how smart you were, and I covered you. I know how smart you were, but he said even just among the teammates, just the detail of the game that you would know and relay to others. So for him, seeing you become a coach was not a surprise. Is this something you had considered much before this point?
It's not. For me, it's the surprise,
Okay.
it wasn't something that I was seeking to do. I think I've been around kids, I've been around the game even since retiring because my kids were starting to play Pop Warner and so I've always coached them throughout. So this wasn't like, oh man, I want to coach. But now that I'm coaching, it's like I should be 15 years into coaching
Ah, really?
at this point because of the enjoyment, because of the knowledge, like reigniting the brain, the energy that comes with coaching, the fine line and helping the kid achieve his goal. It's so much more there than just X's and O's. Like
Right.
to be able to be a leader of a room and to have kids, livelihood kind of like in your hand. Once you get past the X's and O's, it's more to life. Especially for us coming from HBCU, maybe one, maybe 2 kids get a shot, and that's just being realistic. When you have 100 kids on your roster, and you got to be capable to go and identify those 2 kids who deserve an opportunity. And then you got to convince scouts in the
Yeah.
league like they deserve a chance. So for me, it's just kind of been like one of those reigniting things that I didn't know was there.
And what is it like when you're out on the field? How quickly did you get to that point? Like, I'm not sure. I didn't see myself doing this to be like, oh, wow, I like this a lot more than I thought. How quickly did that come?
Just to go to the opportunity, I think it was more the initial conversation was just trying to introduce kids. Like, hey man, look, I got all these kids in the Carolinas. I got these kids in Florida. I got access to these kids over here in Texas that's looking for homes is being overlooked. Myself, Fletch, Antoine Bethea, Nate Clements, we have a youth organization here in Charlotte that kind of help kids jumpstart, the overlooked kids that don't have the 4 and 5 star ratings, but we know can play ball whether they're too small or not getting the looks or in the wrong school. So we try to give those kids an opportunity to be seen. And we were already in that. So I'm talking to D Jack about these kids. Like, hey man, we got a lot of kids that can play ball, but maybe they haven't, you know, burst onto the scene, but they should, And it kind of escalated. And it was like at that moment of being on that campus, like the realization of being needed. And like this is the perfect fit, like this is the perfect start or the perfect opportunity to help. Because I think it was more about like, you can go places and kind of get lost in the shuffle if you have the wrong people around. And I think with this, it was like Jack, this is his first tour, first opportunity to be a head coach, and he needed to assemble a team around him that could help. So he was open to a lot of conversation that a lot of guys in higher positions probably wouldn't be open to. And it was just one of those like, this is where I need to be at this moment. And seeing the campus and seeing like, oh man, we're starting from the bottom, just with the resources and all of that. It was just one of those moments to say, you know what, like I want to accept this challenge. And the moment I did, it was never like a regret or a hesitation or a look back or a worry. It was just like, we're up from here.
D-Jack being a head coach, that did surprise me because and I enjoyed covering him. And it's not that he didn't think that I mean, he knew ball, he kept himself in shape and all that. Does it surprise you that he's the head coach, but also what have you seen from him in that role?
It definitely surprised me. D Jack is D Jack. And sometimes we're sitting in team meetings and I just bust out laughing like, boy, we in over our head. But the challenge is there. I think for Jack to be able to adjust his lifestyle to move and become the leader of men and to put together the staff that he put together, and to have the direction. It's a lot of things that we don't know. But for the X's and O's, for getting the kids to buy in, for convincing kids like we're gonna help you get a real shot. Like this is your opportunity to be developed by former guys that played at a high level because it's more than just us on that staff. You got Eugene Chung, who won a Super Bowl ring with the Eagles, Emerson Martin, played with the Steelers, Sammy Parker, Oregon all-time leading receiver, Coach West, Texas A&M. So you have so many coaches on our staff that played at a high level. And to see that transition, a lot of people was like, you played at a high level, but can you coach it? Can you
Right.
get the most out of kids? Can you get the best out of kids, or do you demand kids to be like you? And I giggle at that because my entire thing is to develop a kid. You don't need to be like me. It's to find the tools that you have and let's max those tools out instead of I'm not trying to change you as a runner. I'm not trying to, my career, I went from balls to the wall, 70-yard runs to, bursting down walls, and that was an adjustment I had to make, that I had the heart to make. I had the coaches and the leadership to buy into, but every year I changed offensive coordinators. Every year I changed quarterbacks. Every year my old line changed. And that wasn't something that bothered me or that I complained about. It was just still got to get it done. And now to help kids and say, hey, we don't have any excuses. Whatever we got, this is what we got. This is what we're gonna get the most out of. So it's more about the effort, the intangibles, giving your best to make sure, like, if you BSing at this point, do you really want it? Like the kids that's being looked at that's gonna have an easier route to you, they working. So what you gotta do?
So one of the things too for you, and I'm curious because you're right, like just being a great player doesn't make you that, but it's also trying to see them in their image and not yours. But you talk about effort, and one of the things you were known for was pass protection, which to me is a lot about effort and desire. Do you almost talk more about that than the way you ran the ball?
Man, my group pass protection, they know what's up. Like
Okay,
we
I figured.
like that's what we're built off of, like the pass protection, the down and distance where we're capable of going out to pick up the tough yardage, the short yardage and goal line situation, like getting the ball to the end zone, finishing plays, getting the max out of the plays. I was having a conversation with Marshall recently that kind of ignited me all over again because we were talking the same language. It's like you're sitting talking with a Hall of Famer, and I know my credentials are, worthy, but just to reiterate, like the coaching, like, hey, bro, like what do you see, or what was your hardest, you know, component to overcome? And it was like the same for both of us. And then the discussion of how we get the most out of these kids and players, that was the same. So it was like, okay, I actually know that I know what I'm talking about now that Marshall has kind of reaffirmed it.
And you talk about like basically some life lessons as well. So you've been through the ups and downs. What do you impart to them from about your story?
That's the easy part, man. I think I'm an open book, and I don't shy away from the fact that I've been through the ups and downs in life, and I don't point the finger. So that kind of took the excuses away from my running back room because I don't point the finger, despite me knowing the truth and me being able to go out and say, look, this is what happened. I've never pointed the finger at anyone for my losses. It was just one of those head down, grind, get back to working. And that's the kind of image that I'm trying to instill in them. Like, I'm not yelling about you for making a mistake. Like, how do we correct that mistake? Let's get it over and let's not have that mistake again. Mistakes are to be made in life. If we all walk through life perfect, it's pointless. You don't need me. But being that we're not perfect, and I done made enough mistakes, I'm trying to help you avoid those. So being an open book to the whole team, I think it kind of shocked the coaching staff to hear my story.
Really?
And to kind of get the awareness of players, like, hey man, I've been to prison, like I've been to prison before. I've been uprooted from my family, and that was the only time that, I haven't been around, to now I'm uprooted again, but it's for you all. It's just one of those eye-opening moments. You don't look back. I can't sit in life and worry about what already happened. The things that I've done in life, the good, the bad, the ugly. It is what it is. And for me, it's no excuse. It's just one of those, you live and you learn, whether being taken advantage of, wrongfully accused, whatever it is. It's just one of those life lessons to overcome. Like, look, we can bounce back from anything.
And so what questions do the players ask you most when you sit down and talk? What do they what topic really generates the most discussion with you?
Life, man, like just life, or things that could have been done differently, or direction or realization of like what made you realize you could play, like
Hmm.
what made you so dominant in rooms with legends, like those questions. And I tell them all the time, it was confidence for me. It was always confidence and heart for me. Like I couldn't duck a challenge because I got Frank Gore sitting behind me. I got Willis McGahee sitting beside me. I got Najee Davenport laying here on the floor mad because all of us are in here. You know, like I
Yep.
never had the opportunity to just cruise. When I got to the NFL, Hall of Famer Terrell Davis is in the huddle. You know, when I got traded, you come to a team and I think our running back room was never better than Liddell, myself, Rock Cartwright, Mike Sellers because of the relationship we had. But even when those guys left, you brought in Sean Alexander, Larry Johnson, Willie Parker, TJ Duckett. Like you brought in people to remove me or to replace me. And I was still the lead dog in all of those packs. And I just make sure to let them know I never duck no competition. I never duck no smoke. I never duck the opportunity for them. You know, it's like, oh, well, I don't want this player to get a chance. He might take my position. I never worried about that. Never. And Sean Alexander, Larry Johnson, Willie Parker, all got decorated careers. And Terrell Davis, all got decorated. Orlandis Gary, Mike Anderson. I played with some dogs,
Yes.
man. And for myself, it was the confidence and the work ethic that people don't give me credit. Everybody always talk about, oh, you didn't practice, you didn't do this. So why was I in shape? Why was I able to run down the field? Why was I able to block and then sprint out and go and spring Cooley or go spring Santana or, go make a tackle on an interception or fumble receiver? Why? And that's all the stuff that's left out when you're talking. It's like so much stuff that happened in my career and it's being overshadowed by stuff that was really pointless to
Well,
what I did on the field.
I do remember, I think it was against Cincinnati where you chased somebody down on an interception in a preseason game. I think that's what it was, wasn't it? Do you remember that?
Kawan Ratliff, I remember.
Okay.
Shouldn't have been in the preseason game, but changed OC. He wanted to see us play in the game. I was supposed to be and they told me this before the game. I think I was supposed to be in the game like 3 to 5 plays
Hmm.
and coming out. And I'm like, why am I even playing? Like 3 to 5 plays, what you gonna see? We throw a pick, I go and chase it down, interrupted our season.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to couple more things here, but if I remember having a conversation with you way back in the day about like the John Riggins record, all to the Russian record and all that, and where you could have been had you been in a different situation. Like your offenses were never, you were the offense when you played here. What do you think you could have done if you had a quarterback like Jaden in front of you?
I don't know, and I can't go with what ifs. I just know to be in the rooms that I was in, to be able to embrace that helped me become the player that I was. Like knowing that we had a hill to overcome or we had obstacles to overcome allowed me to go out and give it my all. So when I look at a guy like Jaden, you say that's like a comfort, like he could bail us out. I'm tired of having to be the workhorse. I'm tired of having to do everything, like I could have adapted that mindset if I would have had such a talent. But at the same time, the appreciation for my teammates, the teammates that I did have, the teammates that I shared the field with, the guys that I played this game with, when you remove Sean and Santana, who you knew were coming out to play, the Chris Samuels and Marcus Washington, LeVar Arrington, like those guys you knew were going to show up. They were going to do what they were supposed to do. Then you look at guys like you look at the guys that we lost that went on to win Super Bowls, that could have played a key role. The Ryan Clarks, the Antonio Pierce, those guys that went on and had decorated careers, Walt Harris, Brandon Lloyd, all the things. We all could look at situations like what could have been, but we didn't get that. It's like, what was it? And what it was is week in, week out, I made sure to show up. I was listening to Magic and Stephen A conversation about what makes a superstar. And it was like when you show up 90% of the time and the game plan is directed to stop you. And it kind of made me reflect over my career. And I thought about that's superstar status. The game plan week in, week out throughout my entire career was to stop 26. It was never a game plan that a D coordinator said, we're not worried about him. Let's stop another guy.
A lot of 8-man boxes, man.
8, 9-man boxes, safety dropping like all the time. And when I look at this, and like we be in practice and I'm vocal in practice and I'm yelling at the quarterbacks or telling the OC, like, come on, man, you got to give us the ball. And he like, well, if it's a 7-man box of, this is what I read say. I'm like, I don't give a damn if it's a 7-man box. It's 6 or 7 men, give us the ball. That's how we stop the confusion. If it's an 8-man box, okay. But 6 or 7 men, leave us a man or let us account for him. So, and I'm just saying that because I want my backs with ball in hand. So, but if it's a 6-man box, that's what guys are facing now. 6 and 7-man boxes. You know what luxury that would have been for me?
Yes, I could imagine.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So Deshaun gave Jay the purple nurple one time. We saw it on the film, right? You like to do your little out, your costumes and all that, which was fun for, the year you did that. So how do you guys then, with your own players, what's your, I guess, approach with your players showing that sort of like the fun side or that part of the themselves? Like how do you go about, like, if there's a young CP, you have a player dressing up in Sheriff Shanky Janky or Janky Shank, whatever, Sheriff Janky, whatever it is, like what do you tell them?
So I encourage players to be vocal, to talk, to let your personality, like, show who you are. It's much more to this game than just X's and O's. If you were to sit in our running back meeting, it's rare it's about X's and O's. For me, the conversation is always encouraged, especially with the mental health crisis that we have. So it's always encouraged to speak up. Like what we discuss within these 4 walls is amongst us. It don't now, if it's a situation or a topic of conversation that's above my pay grade, then we take it up the ladder. But if it's something that I can handle that we could get, finalized amongst us, then they don't leave our room. And, for the kids, I give them an opportunity to say, hey, listen, this is our goal is to keep anybody else out of our room. We don't want nobody else coming in to control our room or tell us what to do. And I got that from my old coach, Coach Solinger, and I got it from Bobby Turner. So both of those coaches were like, hey, I don't need nobody in my room. I'm going to control my own room. And, I talked to Coach Saul before, once I took the job, and it was just about, as a coach, when did you know when to get out of the way? When did you know to push us? When did you know to challenge us? When did you know to put Frank in instead of Willis, or move Willis to fullback? And, what made you do this? So for me, it's more to the kids, like, man, it's so much going on in life, and we're at such a disadvantage that we don't have any excuses. It's like coming out of the hood, you're already at a disadvantage. So when you get an opportunity, we can't waste it because it sends us back to the hood. We're familiar with it because this is where we come from. So where most people go down a dark road or blow their heads off, like, because they went from rags to riches or riches to rags, for us, it's overcoming. So once we've gotten out of the hood, we shouldn't go back. And that's the understanding, like, level up. And even if you fall down, don't dwindle to the point like, oh, I'm embarrassed, or I'm down and out. As long as you got breath to breathe, as long as you can move and you can work and you can do something, you can bounce back. And I think I've shown that multiple times. And I'm going to continue to show it. So it's just one of those situations where I try to make sure all the kids on the team understand my door is open. Whatever the conversation is, don't leave here. But you gotta be you. Like you gotta have personality, especially in today's world where kids don't talk much. You know, everything is on the phone. Like we could be sitting in the room and everybody texting each other in the group chat instead of vocally sharing the conversation. You know, so just encouraging the kids to make sure they get the most out of their journey, whatever that most is. For everybody, it's not football. But you got to know that. And when you recognize that, use this networking, use this platform to further yourself in whatever it is that you want to do.
So just two more. Favorite memory from your time playing here?
My real favorite memory is probably the more I see it or the more I reminisce about it. Um, I would give two, and those memories would be being in that tunnel, uh, the realization of how special being in the tunnel with Sean and Santana was, and the other one would be the off the field bonding. Although we got a lot of negativity and people talk about it to the point like, oh, well, we were always outside, you know. But the reality of it is that '04 team, the '05 team, the '07 team, so '04 through all the teams under Gibbs were probably some of the closest teams, or because of the guys that brought everybody together outside of work. Now you don't get that. Like you don't see a bunch of these guys hanging. You don't see a bunch of these guys together. You don't see like everybody walk out of the stadium to the parking lot with their wife or girlfriend and disperse. Like you don't really hang around. There's no conversation. Like for us, it was different. Like being in that locker room from Miami, well, for me in high school, from high school to Miami to Denver to the Gibbs era, I was always in locker rooms where the players actually loved each other. Like it wasn't, maybe you got beef with somebody or maybe you at odds with somebody, but you actually appreciated your teammates because you knew the work that they were going to do.
And I'm not surprised to hear that. And it's funny, the '05 team, you guys started off slow that year. And I remember thinking to myself, this team is, and thought about this last year with this team, because this team was really close. And one of the times I remembered was that '05 team in particular, because you start off slow, and I'm thinking they're way too good for this, right? And then you guys ripped off like whatever it was to finish the season strong and make the playoffs. But like I agree with you on those teams. Last one, most underrated player that you played with.
Most underrated player that I played with. That's tough because I played with a lot of guys that, had, I don't think Big Chris get the appreciation, although it's hard to say he was underrated. Chris Cooley, for what he done for the organization. Antonio Pierce, Marcus Washington, those guys I think brought a competitor to teams that already had stars. You see, those guys knew their role and played their role at a high level. You couldn't tell them they weren't the star. So to me, it was always enjoyable to play with those guys. Even I would say Sean, and the reason I would say Sean is because the appreciation for Sean didn't come until his demise.
Mhm.
Maybe his teammates knew what he was doing, but when all the stories finally came out of who Sean T really was and what he really was doing, that's when it became bigger than life. But if you go back to year one, year two, when the media was bashing him with the DUI, with the leaving the NFL,
The rookie
the
thing.
little rookie symposium. Yeah, like for everything, all the negativity, you got the four-wheeler altercation in Miami, like all the negativity that came with it didn't allow us to appreciate his game because it seemed like he was always into some shit.
Well,
And
I would say
then,
this too. I think what also was underappreciated was the transformation that he was making during that time. And like I remember, for example, I talked to John Jansen like his rookie year. He's like, I asked him about Sean. It was just like a casual thing. He's like, yeah, I don't really know him. He's kind of quiet, whatever. And you know how Sean is when you're first meeting people. And then the next time I really talked to John was after Sean, after the tragedy, right? And he said, he goes, it really, really changed. And he saw, like, to me, that was a flashpoint of the evolution where you go from here to here. But in the interim, it was hard for outsiders, I think, to really grasp that transformation.
yeah, I think that the transformation, like I remember, so often uh being with Sean or talking to Sean, like trying to get some understanding. And we had a conversation uh that last year before the season, and I was just like, oh man, you about to break the bank. Like you about to be out of here. And he didn't even care. Like he wasn't concerned. He wasn't like, yeah, like I'm about to go get this paper. I'm about to go get this bag. He said, like, CP, that money gonna take care of itself. Like, I'm just trying to be the best player I could be. And I'm like, what? Like, man, you about to be the highest paid player in the league. And he was like, man, that shit don't mean nothing. Like, man, I'm just trying to be the best player. Like, I'm just working on my game and making sure. And that was like, wow, like he out of here. Like he on a different planet, you
Yeah.
know. So for me to be able to see that growth, to be able to see the man he was becoming or the man he became, especially knowing uh what it was with Jackie, with baby Jackie coming to life. So it was just like, damn, he really grew up, and we didn't have enough time to see him in that transition.
I agree with that. And it would have been a fun one to see because you always think about the possibilities with him, but also just both on and off the field. It would have been very, um, it's just a shame that it wasn't seen or talked about enough at that time. But I think it was starting to because of where he was going with his career, and people started to see. They talked about the impact of Jackie being born. You know what I mean? But it is a shame. I agree with you. So, yeah, it's a shame. But it's still one that I'm sure you think about a lot because I know from like I think about it. So I can't imagine how often you guys who are extremely close to him think about it. So CP, I appreciate you coming on. This is why I always love talking to you because it's you, Santana, like the conversations in the locker room were always, always, always really good because you guys always give such great insight. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this episode. Thanks to Clinton for joining me, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll be back on Tuesday with another episode. So I'll talk to you next time.